It's time for a cup of coffee with Will and Chris at Slumberland Furniture. From Slumberland Furniture in Osage Beach, here are your hosts, William Holtz and Chris Schneider.
And welcome to A Cup of Coffee with Will and Chris from Slumberland Furniture. Good to have you along. As you know, we do this show every week. You can see it every day on Lake TV. Wild Will's gotten a lot better looking this week. What happened with that? You're not Will.
Nate and Chris, or it could be Chris and Nate.
Hey,
That's
I think
fine.
we should do that, right?
We can do it. It's fine. Can you just change the logo on this?
There we go. Okay. Absolutely. He's taking over.
Yeah, I'm taking over.
That's
Will,
right.
I love you. Love your show, literally, but
you're going. That's right. So Will's sick this week, so Nathan is nice enough to step in and join us. Nate, of course, Mr. Everything over there at Lake Expo, right? Your editor, your writer, your owner, your janitor, you're just about everything.
Janitor, occasionally. I do a lot, but I am certainly not Mr. Everything. We got a good team.
Yes,
we really have a great team. I love our team, and last year was a big growth year for our team. So it's been fun to get to where we are, and we're excited about 2022, man.
I tell you what, we love you guys, especially on this show, because so many of the stories we do come from Lake Expo.
I appreciate that.
You guys are fantastic. And some great stories today, including that new event center thing.
Big one?
Yeah, so we'll talk about that. What's going on with the dam? Mm-hmm. Is that thing ever going to reopen? We'll talk about that. And he might have some inside baseball for us on that. And then let's get into some of the weirdest, wildest stories from 2021, right?
Yeah.
Last year was a crazy year. So we'll talk about all of that. You know who won our picks, our Lake TV picks? That was me, baby.
Nice.
I won. I kicked everybody's butt.
Nice.
I think Andy was second, Will was third, Ricky was a distant fourth. I'm the champion.
It's age and wisdom. Dude.
That's
you
right.
got it going on.
Well, I'm not sure what that means, but
just don't take it too personally.
Just wisdom and beauty.
You're the big winner here.
That's right. Yeah. Absolutely. So let's hear from our friends Jill and all the great folks at Slumberland Furniture, and we'll be right back.
Happy New Year, everyone. Daryl Cunningham with Slumberland Furniture to the Lake. Still doing our winter blowout sale for a couple more weeks, where we're taking 20% off all our Slumberland low prices, and you get 3 years, 36 months interest-free financing. Come see us at Slumberland Furniture at the Lake, where we're bringing happy home.
Welcome back, Cup of Coffee with Will and Chris. Will is out this week, so we've got Nathan Bechtold from Lake Expo with us, and we've got a whole bunch to talk about today, some news stories, and then we're going to look back to 2021 as well. One of the big news stories is about that major event center, the hotel complex that is in store. Here's the story on LakeExpo.com. Major event center hotel sports facility is in the latter stages of development at the Lake of the Ozarks. Developers behind the project, the Foster family, through their company Peninsula LLC, and they partnered with Dave Mashburn of Mashburn Development, who has worked as a director of development for Bass Pro, the JQH, and all that. So he comes with some pretty big names. Yeah. And this is supposed to be, I think, off of KK up the road from Margaritaville.
Something like that.
Is that right?
Yeah. Not too far. I think you can probably see Margaritaville from the site. Actually,
right.
Some of the renderings they provided, you can kind of see just downstream a little ways.
Yeah, it looks very pretty. I mean, those renderings,
if
they do that.
Really
so a major event center, it says in the final development, that means, doesn't mean that they're building it already. It means that they're in the process of kind of putting all the planning together?
Yeah, I think that's developer lingo, or something. Maybe it's a little sandbagging. I don't really know, but yeah, it's they're at the point where they have renderings. They have already begun conversations with the county about the whole process. They want to see if they can get a TIF in place, so they're talking about that. There's obviously a TIF commission has to get put together and all those kinds of things, and the details of that. That's a process to get ironed out. But they know what they want to build, and they know where they want to build it, and they, as far as I know, own the spot where they want to build it.
So they already own the land.
Yeah, and so they want to move forward. It really seems like, the lake has seen kind of these ideas come and go occasionally on certain things, and sometimes people feel like we get burned with really awesome sounding projects that never come to fruition. I mean, nobody knows the future, but it really sounds like this one's actually going to come to fruition.
Wow.
It really sounds pretty
And you
promising.
mentioned a TIF, and that's a tax increment financing,
Right.
which I guess would help them money-wise to get things going, get things built and everything.
Yeah, those are so complicated, and they're highly controversial, and they're the most boring, controversial topic that exists, I think, in the lake area. And so the long of the or short of the long is that a large part of that would be, so imagine you pay property tax on a certain piece of property and say the property tax is $5,000. Well, if you improve it, and the property tax would go up a lot. They're asking, at least in part or a large part of the TIF, is to keep the difference between what the tax would go up to after they develop it and what it was before, to allow that difference to be invested in part of the development.
Wow.
So that's a big part of the pitch. I think there's a couple other things they're asking for too, and that'll all get kind of sussed out.
Absolutely.
With the process.
See, the things you never thought you would learn about, a TIF, and we just got a great
so
explanation there. And this Foster family is pretty amazing. They've kind of, well, I'm new to the lake, so maybe, everybody knew about the Foster family, but I just heard about them a couple of months ago when they're behind the purchase of the outlet mall, and if that all happens, and now this big project, that Foster family is really stepping up.
They really are, and they've been a big part of the lake since before it was the lake.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, they've been here for what they said 8 generations or something like that. I've gotten to know Chris Foster, who's the son of Dan Foster, who's been a dentist in the area for a long time, and also, according to their family, one of the largest, if not the largest, condo developers in the state of Missouri. He's been involved in a lot of the condo projects here at the lake, involved in other condo projects throughout the state. So yeah, they have a pretty good resume. They know what they're doing, and I think this is a really cool project for them to really be able to do something, A, that's a really great business idea, it sounds like, but B, that really I think is going to help the lake economy. It sounds like a really great promising.
It really does.
endeavor.
Both of those projects, both the outlet mall and this sports event center thing, could be huge.
Yep.
I mean, and they hope to break ground by the summer of 2022, this year, for this sports complex.
Hope.
And
We'll see.
Absolutely. Do you think there's a need for that? Do you think that would be a busy complex around here?
I think so, because I think that it's going to be a sports related thing, but I think more generally it can be an event type center.
Yeah.
I don't know if that looks like convention center type business coming in or what, but I think so. And frankly that like Ballparks National has shown already. 2021 was just their first full year in operation, and they had a great year.
People coming from all over the country.
People want to come here and do stuff. And so I think that sports aspect is really cool. I think that it'll be well received by the lake public generally.
They're going to have to do some infrastructure stuff too, some roads and all that stuff.
For sure. There's work to be done. But
so we'll keep our eye on that, and Lake Expo, and Nate will keep their eye on that for us as well. So the dam, so this popped up. So we got this picture the other day off of, I think it was MoDOT's website, saying dam's going to be done January 31st. Right? So, and then you at Lake Expo come out with this story saying, hey, when's this dam going to be done, man? And then, and you say in your story on Lake Expo, it's what everybody's talking about, especially the business owners over there. MoDOT says they do not have an answer to when the dam is going to be back open. And that kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it?
It makes you wonder. And my confession is I actually hadn't seen the January 31st number on there. We were just in the office, we were wondering. I think we had a phone call or somebody asked us, when's this going to happen? And so we said, well, that's always a good idea for an article. When people are asking questions, we want to help answer them. So we looked into it, and the answer we got from Adam Pulley, who's the Director of Communications for the Central District in MoDOT, was not sure, hopefully by spring.
Wow.
So, I mean maybe he's hedging a little bit. It's always hard to say, and I understand like there's a lot of aspects, weather being one of them, that can bump a project forward. So I want to be gracious in that. So who really knows exactly when? But it sounds like, from what he said, January 31st is probably not going to happen. Yeah.
I would guess not. And I'm guessing they just threw that out there because when they first started it, they said they were going to be done in like November.
Yeah, by the end of the year for sure.
Yeah. And then they said end of the year. Then they said, and then I think they just threw up that number, maybe January 31st. And now it's pushed back to the spring. And they said they found more damage like up on the road, on the bridge or something?
Well, yeah, I don't know exactly what all that comes from. I know like weather is a big part of it. The rain or water freezes and thaws and creates problems in the surfaces. And then, I think a decent amount of people have probably bumped up on those curbs from time to time.
Sure, over the years.
Over the years.
90 years.
Yeah. And so I think that's a large part of it. But it sounds like there was just more work to be done to elongate the life of that driving surface. I was talking actually yesterday just with Bob Lynch he's the one of the area engineers with MoDOT, and he was just frankly really candidly going, I mean, listen, every structure has a lifespan.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, nothing lasts forever, and so what you drive on top of Bagnell Dam, you have the dam, and then he's like, it's actually a bridge on top of the dam. Like it has piers and all those things. It's actually a bridge. And so there'll come a day when we can't drive on that bridge anymore, just like any other bridge in the state of Missouri.
Unless they rebuild it or something.
And that'll be the big question
Yeah.
is what do we do then? I mean, timeline, 15 to 20 years, maybe, right? Is kind of what they're thinking, I think, at this point. So
I see a story coming out on this at
there
Lake
may be
Expo.
1 or 3 stories coming out on Lake Expo about this, but there's some interesting things happening there. MoDOT certainly has their eye on the bridge. They're going to be doing, very like regular inspections, like they do on all the bridges.
Yeah.
And Bob was basically saying that helps us our twice a year, and then as it gets a little older, once a year inspections on a bridge help us know how much longer does this bridge have before we got to do something serious to it.
Well, and even now they're cutting it back to what, a limit of 18 tons.
18 tons,
right?
yeah. Which basically will mean that any like loaded truck, not like a pickup truck, but loaded semi-truck, dump truck, that kind of stuff is not going to be able to go across it when it reopens.
Okay.
So that'll change things for some people, but Bob's point to that, I thought, which was really great, was that, a lot of people kind of, you get really nervous about your side mirrors when you go across the bridge.
Yeah.
And usually you get the most nervous when it's a big truck coming at you. So that actually kind of mitigates that. He said up to this point we didn't have a reason to put a weight limit on it. It was fine, but as we're looking at its lifespan, we're going to go ahead and put that weight limit on it. And that'll actually solve some of the nervousness that people have about crossing the bridge when a big truck's coming at you.
Absolutely. And speaking of nervousness, I think the business owners, especially on the Strip and over in that area by the dam, are getting a little nervous about when this does reopen, because this is probably choking off a little bit of business.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it has to, right? Because it for many people, if you're trying to go towards a business that's towards the dam and you have to go around, that's almost an extra 10 minutes.
That's
really,
a long
if you
way,
got to go back on 54 and up 242 and back down the Strip. So it affects that for sure. And I think, it's probably not huge during this time of year, but this time of year is going to be over
pretty soon.
Sooner rather than later. And so they're going to want that to be back open.
Well, and when is the big, is it Memorial Day weekend? Is that the big, opening of spring? Or I think the businesses look at sooner than that.
I was going to say, I think maybe it used to be, but I think now it's April,
March,
at least, or March. I mean, as soon as the weather warms, if things are nice in March, people down here.
Yeah, absolutely.
2020 people were down here.
Oh my gosh!
As soon as the city started shutting down, they all came here.
Believe 2020.
And we had some nice weather. I remember in March of 2020 or early April, people were on the lake, man.
Yep.
So boating season starts way sooner than Memorial Day.
I remember my wife and we were sitting on the dock April 2020, and it was as busy in the middle of April that day as any 4th of July I'd seen. It was, and that's COVID stuff, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. So those are the two big, huge, what's going on right now stories. We've kind of covered those. Lake Expo. You guys will probably have more on all of that in the coming weeks and stuff like that. So we thought it'd be fun to kind of go back and look at 2021.
Yeah.
We started this show, Cup of Coffee with Will and Chris, almost a year ago to the day. This is show number 50. All right. So 2 more weeks, show 52.
Congrats.
And what a year. I mean, from the crazy realtor, right, that tried to hire a killer to kill somebody in the family.
Allegedly, yes.
Allegedly. Thank you. And to the crazy mayor who allegedly ran a prostitution ring, to everything else that's going on. I mean, there's just not a lack of stories.
Not a lack of stories.
Right?
No, which is,
good for us,
business, I guess. I mean, I always say, listen, I'd rather write about happy, fun, nice things, although frankly, people often would rather read about the crazy things.
Yeah,
so we just try to do
we
try to do all of it.
Exactly.
And cover all the bases. But yes, it was an interesting interesting year.
Yeah.
For
So
sure.
let's go back and look at some of those crazy stories. Number one on your list at Lake Expo, because Lake Expo put together this story called The Weirdest, Wildest, Most Incredible Stories from 2021 at the Lake of the Ozarks.
Yeah.
Number one, the Great Freeze. And I think you guys nailed that, man. Because, right, I mean, that was the story of the year.
That was nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, not very many people can say that they've seen the lake that level of froze over. I mean, some, you live here long enough, you see it, but that was remarkable. And even fewer can say they've seen it from the cool angles that people got, because now we have drones. Last time it froze over like that, I don't even think drones existed.
No.
So there were some amazing photos. We got a photographer to share some with us and things, but dock owners don't care about the photos so much. They care a lot more about, I love the photos, but they care a lot more about what it did to their property. And it was that was a bizarre situation that unfortunately cost a lot of people a lot of money.
Yeah.
And it was
dock damage and stuff like that. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then, I honestly, it's controversial, but I give props to Ameren, frankly, because they were between a rock and a hard place. Man, that was a tough situation, trying to keep people's power on and having to run the dam while knowing this is going to wreck people's docks.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. That's an unenviable situation, but
tough.
That was a rough time.
They can blame each other though, because I think Ameren blames the Corps of Engineers blame. So it's like the government.
I'll let them work that out.
Yeah. So that was the number one story, the Great Freeze, and that was a great story. And I just tying it into the dam when they say it could take longer because of weather. If we have a cold snap like that again in 2022, it's going to delay their work on the dam.
Oh yeah,
probably.
for sure. Weather affects that.
We'll have to see. Number two of your weirdest, wildest, crazy stories of 2021 was the write-in win, and that's a part of that mayor story we were talking about. We had Mayor Morawski over there at Lake Ozark. He got in some trouble. Really got in some trouble because you guys did an expose that kind of called out some of the things he was doing. People started getting up in air, and then there was the election.
Yep.
And so we had a write-in candidate that comes in and wins out of nowhere.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. Well, of course, it is the way it is. This is the era of hating the media. So whatever. We got accused of having an agenda in that story. We honestly didn't really have one. It was we saw something that we needed to tell to the community. And we thought it was important. When Dennis Newberry stepped in as a write-in candidate, that took us all by surprise. And when he won, I was blown away. I know write-in candidates occasionally win, but that is remarkable. And the fact that he won by almost more votes than had been cast in the entirety of the last mayoral election was a loud and clear message from voters. So that was an incredible story.
That really was.
Really, really wild.
Pretty amazing. And that was in the early part of the year, because I think that was April. Number three on your list was mouse in the green beans. Well, we didn't do that story because Wild Will was getting sick when we were talking about it. But somebody opened a can of green beans and they found a mouse in there.
They found, they sent it back to the company. They had to send a sample into the company, and they did lab testing and they confirmed something like small mammal, like that's enough information. It was a small mammal in the can of green beans. The person told us, yes, it had whiskers.
That even makes it worse.
Yeah.
Okay.
Enough of that.
Number four, I love, this might be my favorite writing that you or your staff did this year, anaphylactic assault. Because somebody tried to poison somebody with peanuts, right?
Yeah,
which isn't funny, but
you can't make this stuff up. And of course, when the stories just kind of land on your desk, then you have to think of, well, you might as well have fun with the headline,
right?
And so we thought, my gosh, what a crazy situation. Why don't we at least write a wild headline about it? But yeah, what a wild story. Guy doesn't like his mom's boyfriend, so knows the guy has a peanut allergy and starts stuffing peanuts in all the places.
Like in his
soap,
underwear
drawer, his soap. That's messed up.
Unbelievable.
Man. That's messed up, but I think the guy's okay. But
anaphylactic assault.
Anaphylactic assault. Yeah.
That was greatness. Okay. Yeah. And then this story we did do because it's really cool. Number 5 on your list: houseboat pulled off the lake floor. And this is pretty cool. And it's one of those things that you go, okay, if a boat sinks, how are you going to get that sucker up there? Right. But there's kind of more to this story. It was a 40-foot sunken boat that the I guess the property owner just gotten this property, didn't know it was down there.
I believe so, yeah.
Went to go get a dock permit, and they say, hey, you got to pull that boat up from down there, dude. You know,
yeah.
And
at your expense.
At your expense, absolutely.
Which is fun.
So they go and hire this company. Divers started by attaching airbags to the vessel down there, 2 8,000-pound airbags and 2 6,000-pound airbags on the front to bring this thing up. I mean, think about the weight, because it's waterlogged. There's water in everything, probably mud and sediment.
Mud all on the bottom of it, and then just the boat itself is heavy. So that's that job, man. Props to everybody who does that job, because that's the true dirty job.
Yeah.
And it's cold and all kinds of things. And in fact, it was under the current dock, and they had to lift it into the dock slip. And they had to kind of maneuver it as it's rising through the water so that it pops up right in the dock
How
slip.
amazing!
That's amazing. That's really impressive.
Yeah,
that was a wild one.
Miraculous.
Yep.
Okay, so that was number 5. I skipped number 6 because it was boring. Number 7 is the handcuffed cop car theft. This is, again, unfreaking believable, right? It starts out at the Coles, and they chase him over to right by the bridge.
By the toll bridge, and
he like crashes down from the woods down thing. They arrest him. Somehow he gets out.
They handcuff him, put him in the back of the cop car, and then go out to like manage the situation. And then he's driving off with their cop car.
Somehow, he's handcuffed behind his back and he's shackled, and somehow he gets out of that, steals the cop car, goes across the bridge, breaks into a house, and then they finally arrest him in the water because he was trying to steal like a boat or something like that.
I guess still handcuffed and shackled. Why would you jump in the lake when, I don't know. There's a lot of questions about this.
That is crazy.
But apparently when they contacted, I think it was Columbia Police or Boone County up there or something, they're like, oh yeah, we know that.
Yeah, we know that crazy.
We know his skills.
Wow.
So I don't know.
I
That
guess,
was a wild one.
man. So that was number 7, the handcuff, and that story still amazes me.
I know.
That somebody would be able to do that. Number 8 on the list is Landslide, and we did this early in the year. I believe we started talking about this, May 19th on Ozark Isle Road neighborhood in Camdenton. The hillside along the road suddenly gave way and got a landslide and a problem getting in and out of the neighborhood. And I don't know if they've resolved that yet.
I don't think so.
I don't think they have either.
It's going to be an expensive fix. And so, as you know, most of the area around the Lake of the Ozarks is very flat, Chris, as you're aware.
Oh yeah, so totally flat.
Just there's not any problems with this normally.
It's like Nebraska.
Yeah, it's just like Nebraska. No, so the crazy amounts of hillsides and the fact that we have to build roads on them and houses on them and all that. That is what happened here, and who knows whether it was an engineering failure or just something nobody knew was there. But that was a weird one, and the photos were
It would
remarkable.
really suck to live in there.
It would.
I mean, knowing that, because it's a road that's out, so you probably have to go around and all that stuff. It's close to a sewage center, I guess, which is a part of the problem. So that's another issue. So I'm sure we'll be seeing more on that on Lake Expo in the coming days. Number 9, that was number 8. Number 9 on your list, the dog found in Utah. All right, so somebody lets the dog out, Camdenton. They disappear, don't know where they are, and then they find the dog in Utah. Go and have to go get the dog in Utah.
That was, I don't know. I mean, again, it's all these. We're like, you just can't make these stories up. This is just totally bizarre. But people love stories about dogs. Too, so we like to tell that. I have one of our writers went through Mizzou's J school, and she said in J school they literally teach you babies and dogs.
Really?
Do stories on those, and you got to have a picture to accompany. People love those stories. So thank you, everyone who read the story about the dog found in Utah.
See, and I'm not a dog person, so I'm like, whatever, get a new dog, But dog people like Will and you and stuff are like, oh, what are you talking about, So
precious family pet, man.
There
Come
you
on.
go.
Have a heart.
Absolutely. So that's the dog that they found in Utah, brought back home. That's
brought
cool.
home. That was a good happy ending.
There you go. Absolutely. Like a Hallmark movie there. And last on the list was, and this just happened. I didn't even see this story. Messy misstep is the story where close call for an Osage Beach fire protection firefighter fell into a sewage treatment vat while fighting a fire at Three Seasons condominiums. Ew, right? So you're there fighting a fire and all of a sudden you find yourself
swimming in
whatever.
Yeah. You feel bad for this guy. And we didn't know the name of the person, and that's probably for the best. We wouldn't have published it because that's not really very nice. Yeah. But you could tell in some of the comments on Facebook that some people knew who this was, and I think he was catching some crap.
Oh, so to speak.
Yeah, so to speak.
No pun intended. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So. Great story. So, 2021, the top stories, and you didn't even put in the crazy realtor that allegedly tried to
you got to stop somewhere. There's just so much.
Absolutely. And you did another list of favorite feel-good stories, right? And number 2 on that list, my favorite, was the Shootout record. They set another record in money earned this year, up 10% from the year before. And this year they raised, what was it? $445,000.
It's amazing.
That is amazing.
It's amazing. That's a huge fundraiser for Lake Area Charities. Man. And it's a fun one, too. I mean, there's so much to do. It just continues to be a fantastic Lake of the Ozarks event. And it feels like a broken record to keep saying that, but it just keeps being true. And they keep breaking their record every year and all that. It's great.
It's such a special community we have here. On another show that we do here on Lake TV, the Community Spotlight Show, we have a lot of business leaders and nonprofit leaders and stuff on. And just about every one of them are involved in raising money for charity in some way. Yeah. It's a huge community thing. That's one of the things that makes this so special.
It really is. Yeah. It really is. And it goes right to the heart of the lake. The lake is such a unique place. I try to explain it to people who are not here, and really you have to live here to understand it, is that the lake is a place that people love to come to have fun, and a place where people are just incredibly generous.
Yep. Absolutely, and it's much needed.
I was going to say, there's a lot of need, and that's a big part of it. There is, that's a big piece of it too. There's a huge disparity in terms of the multi-million-dollar homes you see on the lake. Nothing wrong with those. Yeah, really nice, really beautiful, and the folks that are living without heat. Yeah. In rural areas around here, and so the ways that we can help those folks out through our organizations and through giving to those is huge.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so there's our stories. Let's get into sports real quick. The Chiefs in the playoffs starting this week, right? They beat Denver last week, 28-24. Not really very impressive, right? So it'll be interesting to see how the Chiefs do in the playoffs. So they play Sunday night against the Steelers. So Saturday, 2 games. You got the Raiders and Bengals and the Patriots and Bills. Sunday, Eagles, Bucks, Niners, Cowboys, and then your Steelers and your Chiefs. And then Monday, you've got the Cardinals and the Rams. And I need to say again that I am the champion of our NFL picks this year.
Well played.
Beating Andy by 4 picks, Andy, I think? And then Will finished, I think, 6 back. And then I noticed he didn't send any finals here because he was embarrassed of losing. So, and then Ricky was 300 points back. So, but
next year.
Good effort, yeah. So, and then coming up on Lake TV, you can see this show every day at 8, 1, and 8. So be sure to tune in with the new Wild Will over here. Will will be back next week.
Just for now, just for today.
He needed a vacation.
That's true.
What's burning with KB? And KB's got a new segment on his show, On the Trail. It's kind of a history show where they go around local spots with historian Bill Mulder.
Oh, cool.
And it's really, really cool. So check that out on KB's show. You can see that at 7 in the morning, 5 in the afternoon, and 11 at night. On our coaches show this week, we've got Osage head coach Craig Engelbrecht. He's a Hall of Famer. And so he talks about what's going on with the Osage basketball program. Community Spotlight this week. You can see that every day at 9, 3, and 7. Somebody you know, Kristen Reed, owner of A to Z Home Services, and their whole job is to clean up messes.
Clean up the dirtiest messes, man.
Right.
Yeah, that's a calling. That's not a job. Props
so
to them.
It's like that firefighter that fell into the vat.
Right.
You know,
they might have had to come clean him up.
They probably did. They probably had to come clean him up. But so I talked to her about cleaning up all these things because it includes murder scenes and
the worst of the worst.
The worst of the worst.
Yep.
And I asked her, what's the hardest, nastiest stuff to clean up? You have to watch the show to get that answer. So, and you can see that again every day, 9, 3, and 7 right here on Lake TV. Okay, so are you ready for the quote?
Let's do it.
Quote of the week?
Let's hear it.
It's a baseball quote. I know you're a big baseball fan. You're a big Cardinal fan.
Cardinals fan.
Right? But you don't know much about what's going on in the off season.
I try. I have people that keep me filled in on the highlights.
You have your people.
So I have my people.
There you
go. That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
So this week's quote is from Ted Williams. Baseball is the only field of endeavor where a man can succeed 3 times out of 10 and be considered a good performer.
That's why I love the game.
That's right.
That's why I push my son into play, and he loves it so much. It's a great game of failure.
I keep telling my wife that. 3 out of 10, baby. You know, hey, that's
right.
okay.
That's right.
So we like to thank our crew, just an amazing crew. Andrew Evans, Director of Photography, Ricky Smith, Megan Albers, Will, who is taking this week off. He'll be back next week. But thank you, as always, for joining us on A Cup of Coffee. And again, you can see this every day at 8, 1, and 8. Talk to you next week.